Cold winter wind whistled against the giant glass window of Jungkook's mansion, but the living room inside was filled with nothing except thick, suffocating cigarette smoke. Jungkook sat on the white black leather sofa, hunched forward slightly, elbows resting on his knees, a cigarette burning slowly between his fingers. Two empty packs lay crushed on the table, along with a half-finished bottle of wine that had been left uncapped, staining rings on the wooden surface. His eyes looked dead, glassy, tired, as if every bit of life had already been drained months ago. The orange ember of the cigarette flickered against the dim room lights, reflecting on his cold expression. Jimin stood in front of him, jaw clenched tight, hands on his waist, watching the smoke curl around Jungkook's face like a slow, poisonous fog. Jungkook, that's your sixth cigarette in the last 20 minutes, Jimin said, voice breaking in frustration. Do you even hear yourself breathing anymore? You are coughing blood. For fuck's sake. Jungkook took a slow drag, exhaled deeply, and stared blankly into space. I'm still breathing now, he muttered, his voice slow and cold. That's enough. Jimin's eyes widened. Enough. Jungkook, you think this is enough? This? He gestured at the scattered packs, the ashtray overflowing Jungkook's trembling fingers. This is you, trying to kill yourself faster. Jungkook's jaw twitched, but he didn't reply. He simply lifted the cigarette again, his movements slow, tired, mechanical. Jimin stepped closer. Jungkook, why aren't you fighting this? The doctor said you still have time. Treatments can help. Stop. Jungkook finally looked at him, eyes sharp but empty. I'm not wasting whatever time I have let sitting in hospital coughing my guts out while strangers poke needles into my body. That waste of time could save your life. Jimin's voice cracked with helpless anger. You are 31, Jungkook. 31. You are acting like you are 80 and ready to go. Jungkook laughed, a bitter, humorless laugh. Jimina, look around. I have done enough damage in this world. Maybe this is life finishing me. Maybe it's finally my turn. Jimin's hands curled into fist. Don't say that. You protected us, protected your men, built everything with your blood. You don't deserve just die like this. Jungkook leaned back on the sofa, head tilted slightly, staring at the chandelier above him. I don't care about deserving anything. I'm just tired, Jimin. I'm tired of fighting everything. Maybe death is the only thing left that won't betray me. Hearing that, Jimin felt something inside him break. His voice softened. Jungkook, please, I'm begging you. At least try. Throw the cigarettes away just once, for me. Jungkook flicked the ash off the cigarette, not even looking at him. I'm dying anyway. Let me die the way I want. The quietness after that sentence was deafening. Jimin stood there frozen. Then his voice shook in anger. You are unbelievable. You really want to give up? You really want to leave us all like this? Jungkook didn't answer. His silence was his confirmation. Jimin's throat tightened, his eyes glistened with frustration and fear. Fine, do whatever the hell you want. If you don't care about yourself, then why should I? He turned around, sharply grabbing his coat. Jimin, one of the guards tried to speak. Don't. Jimin raised a hand. If he wants to destroy himself, let him. I'm done for tonight. The main door slammed shut behind him. One by one, Jungkook's men exchanged worried glances. Their boss was collapsing right in front of them, but no one could do anything. The smoke kept growing heavier, filling the air with the smell of burning tobacco and despair. Boss, should we leave? Jungkook cut them off without emotion. They hesitated, but no one dared disobey. Within minutes, they quietly filed out of the living room, leaving Jungkook sitting alone, surrounded by darkness, smoke, and silence. When the last footsteps faded, Jungkook leaned back, exhaled another long cloud of smoke, and whispered to himself with a hollow, broken voice. Dying doesn't scare me, living does. The cigarette burned between his fingers, another one ready on the table, and outside winter kept hitting the windows cold and unforgiving. Jungkook had always been the kind of mafia leader whose name was whispered rather than spoken. In the underworld, he wasn't just feared, he was a myth, a shadow, a quiet storm that destroyed anything standing in his path. He built his empire with blood on his hands and silence in his heart. No one knew when he last smiled genuinely, and no one remembered a time when warmth had ever existed in his eyes. He ruled with precision, cruelty, and an unwavering detachment that made even his enemies fear him before seeing him. Emotions were a weakness he never allowed himself to feel. His world was violence, power, and cold discipline. For years, it was enough. Then, a few months ago, everything shifted when the doctor uttered the word cancer, lung cancer, stage 2. But even that news didn't crack him. He didn't flinch, didn't question, didn't show anger or fear. To Jungkook, that was something he had lived with all his life, something that lingered around him like a familiar shadow. If anything, he treated the diagnosis like another inconvenient detail he could ignore. He walked out of the hospital with the same blank expression he walked in with, lighting a cigarette the moment he stepped outside, as if challenging fate to do its worst. From that day onward, his habits only worsened. He smoked more than before, not because he cared so little about life, but because he didn't believe he had anything left to live for. Two packs became three, then four on bad nights. Not that Jungkook ever admitted he had bad nights. The smoke became his comfort, the burn in his lungs a sensation he clung to. It was the only thing that reminded him he was still alive. He breathed in like oxygen and exhaled like letting out every unspoken emotion he refused to feel. The diagnosis didn't scare him. The idea of living another lonely day did. Jimin, his closest friend and most loyal right-hand man, watched this downfall with growing dread. He had seen He had seen Jungkook at his worst, bleeding, killing, breaking. But this was different. This was Jungkook drowning without fighting to stay above water. Jimin noticed the tremor in his hands, the deepening circles under his eyes, the way his cuffs turned harsher and heavier. But Jungkook pushed away every attempt to help, brushing off concern like dust. To him, suffering was normal and affection was something foreign and meaningless. Slowly, the mansion began to change. The once organized, disciplined environment started cracking under the weight of Jungkook's apathy. Meetings were missed, missions delayed, routines disrupted. His men walked His men walked on eggshells, afraid that one wrong move might trigger the cold wrath that had only grown sharper as his health declined. Cigarette smoke filled every room he entered, clinging to him like a second skin. Every night he sat alone, staring into nothing, a bottle of whiskey near his feet and half-burnt cigarettes pulling in ashtrays. He didn't sleep much. He didn't want to. Darkness felt safer than the nightmares waiting behind closed eyes. Even when his strength started flattering, when coughing fist left him breathless, when the pain in his chest grew unbearable, when blood appeared on tissues, he refused to acknowledge weakness. He lived as if he were invincible, Even while dying slowly from the inside, his fear wasn't cancer, it was vulnerability. And so Jungkook continued sinking deeper, hiding behind smoke, ignoring the world, refusing treatment and shutting out anyone who tried to reach him. He had built a life out of coldness, but now that same coldness was consuming him from within. The room was dim, almost suffocating in the low amber light spilling from a small table lamp. The curtains were half open, letting the cold wind brush past them, but it did nothing to disperse the thick fog of secret. Smoke floating heavily inside. Jungkook sat on the edge of his bed, elbow resting on his knees, fingers wrapped around a cigarette like it was the only thing keeping him alive. His hair was still wet from the shower he had taken after the mission, a few droplets sliding down the side of his throat and disappearing beneath the black t-shirt clinging to his skin. He took a deep, deep drag so long it looked like he wanted the entire fire to settle inside him. Smoke filled his lungs, and for a moment he closed his eyes as if this was peace, as if burning himself from the inside was the only thing he knew anymore. A faint smoke tugged on his lips. Jungkook mumbled low to himself. I swear, these sticks love me more than people ever did. He took another drag, letting the smoke coil out of his mouth in slow rings. Addicted. Ha! I call it loyalty. They never leave. He flicked ash into the tray already full of blackened ends. At least 20, maybe more, proved that he had been sitting here for hours. Just then, a soft knock followed by the door opening without waiting for permission. Jimin entered. The moment he stepped inside, he stopped. His eyes watered slightly, not from emotions but from the thick, overwhelming smoke cloud that hit him like a wall. Jungkook, what the hell? He coughed, waving a hand in front of his face as he walked further in and closed the door behind him. Jungkook didn't even look up. He blew smoke upward and chuckled. Don't act dramatic. It's just smoke. You have inhaled worse on missions. Jimin expectorated, sighing deeply. Smoking one or two is normal, Jungkook, but this is insane. He walked towards him, eyeing the overflowing ashtray. How many did you finish today? 10? 15? Jungkook mumbled with a blank stare. 23, maybe 24? Lost count. Jimin's jaw tightened. This isn't addiction anymore. This is self-destruction. Jungkook laughed under his breath, sound hollow and tired. You talk like I don't know that. He took another drag, deep enough that the cigarette burned almost halfway in a single breath. Jimin said softly but frustrated, then why do you keep doing it? Jungkook's eyes finally lifted, meeting Jimin's gaze, dark, unreadable, empty yet filled with something painful. Because it's easier than thinking. Jimin swallowed, his expression softening for a moment, but he quickly shook it off and sat on the table opposite Jungkook. Anyway, I didn't come here to fight with you about cigarettes. He paused, rubbing the back of his neck nervously. I actually came to tell you I need to sleep early tonight. Tomorrow morning is my monthly checkup at the hospital. Jungkook scoffed instantly. Then go. Why are you telling me? Because you are going to. Silence. Jungkook stared at him like he just heard the funniest thing in the world. Then he leaned back, letting the cigarette hang loosely between his fingers. I'm not going anywhere, Jimin said firmly. You are, Jungkook. You have been avoiding this checkup for 3 months. You can't escape again. Jungkook laughed, short, sharp, annoyed. Doctors bore me, hospitals annoy me, and needles don't even start. You get stabbed by actual enemies, but you are scared of needles? I am not scared. I just don't like pointless things. Jimin leaned forward. It's not pointless. Your health isn't something you can ignore forever. His tone was serious. Jungkook rolled his eyes. My health is fine. Oh yeah, says the man who smokes enough to kill an elephant and hasn't slept properly in years. Stop exaggerating. Stop destroying yourself. That sentence hung in the air for a long moment. Jungkook looked at him with a blank face, then slowly, painfully slowly, he picked up his cigarette again. You are done lecturing me? Jimin said, ignoring the tone. Please, just tomorrow. Just one appointment. After that, do whatever the hell you want. I won't force you again. Jungkook remained silent. Jimin sighed heavily, dragging a hand through his hair. Look, I know you hate hospitals. I know you hate people telling you what to do. But I'm not asking because I want to annoy you. I worry about you, okay? Jungkook's fingers froze slightly, cigarette halfway to his mouth. You push everyone away, but someone still has to make sure you don't drop dead someday. And I guess that someone is me. Jungkook's lips pressed into a thin line, finally after a long silence. If I say yes, will you shut up for the rest of the night? Jimin blinked. Yes. Jungkook took one last drag from the cigarette, crushed it in the ashtray, leaned back and exhaled tiredly. Fine, I'll go. Jimin's eyes widened slightly. Surprised, he agreed so easily. Really? Don't make me change my mind. A tiny smile appeared on Jimin's face, relieved. He got up to leave. Good. Then sleep early, okay? Tomorrow will be long. Jungkook snorted. You sleep early. I'm staying awake. No cigarettes, he said, sentence his hands on his chest. Jungkook smirked. You can't control everything I do, Park Jimin. At least try. Jimin opened the door and said softly, Good night, Jungkook. Jungkook said without looking up, Night. And the door closed, leaving Jungkook alone again. He sighed, leaning back on his bed, staring at the ceiling. His fingers twitched, craving another cigarette, and after a moment he lit another one. Addicted? Yeah, maybe, but it's the only thing that keeps me breathing, he said, whispering to himself as smoke curled around him. It was a cold morning, the kind that bit through even the thickest coat. Frost glazed the edges of the car window as Jungkook's sleek black Aston Martin cut through the fog like a blade. His hand rested on the steering wheel, the other held a cigarette loosely between his fingers. Smoke collided from his lips, ghostly and steady, almost rhythmic with his breathing. The radio was off. The only sight inside was the low growl of the engine and the faint crackle of burning tobacco. Jungkook's expression was unreadable. Half dead eyes, jaw tight, a thin frown resting like it belonged there forever. The air reeked of nicotine, leather, and expensive cologne. He drove like he lived, fast, reckless, and without care for how close death lingered at his shoulder. Jimin's words from the previous night echoed in his head, but he brushed them off like smoke. Its destruction means you will end up killing yourself before the cancer does. He smirked then. Let it try, he had muttered to himself. A few minutes later, Jungkook's brow furrowed as he noticed a figure ahead on the roadside. Someone struggling with a fallen bag of groceries. The road was empty and the wind was cruel, scattering apples, oranges, and a few flowers across the street. Jungkook groaned under his breath, pressing the brakes hard. Tires screeched. The car halted with a jerk, smoke swirling from the exhaust. The cigarette almost fell from his lips. Seriously, he muttered, slamming the steering wheel once before pushing the door open. His tall figure emerged from the car, wrapped in his black coat, silver rings glinting under the pale light. He stalked forward, irritation rolling off him in waves. "Yeah, can't you see the road, woman?" He barked, voice deep, cold, and commanding. You, on the other hand, were not the type to be intimidated easily. You had been trying to gather. You scattered groceries, annoyed but calm, until that arrogant tone cut through the air. Your head snapped up. "Excuse me?" You scoffed, narrowing your eyes. "I was picking up my things, not dancing in the middle of the street." Jungkook took a step closer, jaw tightening. "You were blocking my way," he said flat, flicking his cigarette to the side, though it still glowed at the end. You crossed your arms. "Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Road King. Didn't know the entire street belonged to you." His eyes darkened slightly at your tone. He tilted his head, smirking. "Do you even know who you are talking to?" "Oh God, don't tell me this is the part where you say you are some kind of celebrity." You mocked, feigning a gasp. "Wait, are you? Should I be taking a selfie right now or bowing?" His lips parted in disbelief. No one had ever dared talk to him like that, especially not a stranger. His patience thinned, visible in the way he clenched his jaw and took a sharp drag from his cigarette. "Watch your tone, woman," he said lowly, smoke curling past his lips. "I don't like repeating myself." You stepped closer instead of backing down, surprising him. "And I don't like arrogant men who think the world spins around them." Then your gaze flickered to the cigarette between his fingers, burning halfway, ashes falling to the ground. You frowned. "You know that's injurious to health, right?" He smirked, tilting his head. "And you think I care?" "Maybe not, but your lungs do." And before he could react, you reached out, snatched the cigarette from his fingers, and threw it on the ground, crushing it beneath your heel. The sound of the amber dying was sharp, a hiss that matched the irritation sparkling in his chest. "What the hell are you doing?" Jungkook snapped, voice echoing through the street. "Saving your life," you said simply, brushing your hands off. "You should thank me." He let out a low, humorless laugh. "Thank you? For what?" He stepped closer, his presence towering, his scent dangerously intoxicating. Smoke, whiskey, and winter air. "You have got guts, I'll give you that." "Glad you noticed," you replied, refusing to flinch. "Now, maybe try apologizing for almost running me over." His brows furrowed. "Me? Apologize?" The words tasted foreign in his mouth. "You were the one standing. You cut him off. You were the one speeding." He took a long pause, glaring at you. His pride and temper were at war, one telling him to walk away, the other burning to shut you up. Finally, he sighed, teeth gritted. "Fine," he muttered, his voice low and rough. "Sorry." You blinked, feigning surprise. "What was that? I didn't hear you." His eyes narrowed dangerously. "Don't push it." "Wow, that's the first time someone said sorry to me with murder in their eyes." You teased, your lips curving into a small victorious smirk. He glared at you one last time before muttering under his breath, "You will regret this." Then he turned on his heel, walked back to his car, and slammed the door shut. The engine roared to life, echoing down the quiet street. You couldn't help but smile to yourself as he sped away. The man who had just apologized for the first time in his life to a stranger who crushed his cigarette. Little did you know, the fleeting encounter would be the spark that changed both your worlds forever. Because for the first time Jungkook, the Mafia, who feared nothing, who loved only his cigarettes, found himself thinking about something, someone he couldn't smoke away.